Well, hey, I'd like to start today off with a question, okay? Don't answer it, it's rhetorical. But the question is, how do you describe love? It's a word with a lot of nuance, a lot of meaning, a lot of different descriptions. I like to think of definitions in terms of songs and music artists. So if you're Taylor Swift, you describe it like saving your dirtiest jokes for me, and at every table, save you a seat. That's what it looks like to her. Yeah, lover. You know the song. And if you don't, you're a liar. If you're Billie Eilish, or William, as I like to call her, it looks like something like staring into those ocean eyes. I can't get my voice that high. And if you're this big purple dinosaur from the 1990s, it looks more like a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? That's some sussy baka stuff right there. What is this goofy purple dinosaur talking about in the 90s? That's why he got canceled, is because he said stuff like that. We're not watching Barney no more. If you know, you know. Now you can't go around kissing people, Barney. Stop. Freaky. Anyway, I want to talk about love a little bit differently this morning, obviously. I want to talk about the love and the way that Jesus commanded us to express love. And we're approaching Easter, so some of you might be like, I already know what you're going to say. I already know that you're going to be like, he died for us. Greater love has no one than this, that someone would lay down his life for his friends. That's the sermon we always hear around Easter, John 15:13, right? And that's not actually where we're going today. That's not where we're going. But we talk about love a lot in church. We talk about God is love. We talk about how God so loved the world, John 3:16. We even sang it in a song earlier. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, right? We talk about it nonstop, but have we ever really stopped to question what it really even looks like? See, as Christians, we probably all know that we're supposed to love. We're like, well, God is love, and if we're made in his image and we're his ambassadors on this planet, then we're supposed to be loved too and be loving, right? And that's true. So if that's the case, then why don't you tell me why a leading study organization called Barna, and this is 2019, this is like even pre-COVID, so it's a lot worse now, but they haven't done another study since. The study revealed this, though, in 2019, that 59% of young people stopped going to church because they felt that Christians were loving. No, they felt that Christians were judgmental and hypocritical. 59% is the majority of people who were going to church. Young people, your age, your demographic, the majority of them stopped going to church because they felt like Christians were not identified by love, but rather hypocrisy and judgment. More recently, a study found that non-Christians associate Christians with characteristics like hypocrisy. You probably heard it said before. There's also judgment, of course, self-righteousness, and arrogance, people thinking that you're better than everybody else because you're out here with your Jesus, you're not sinning, but then they find out low-key that you are, and it's like, and that's even worse of a look, and it all crumbles down. So it's not good. The cards are kind of stacked against us, right? We're not known for being loving, and I'm not saying that's true of all of us. Thank God. Still good people out there, y'all, and y'all are some of them, and I thank you for that. But it's a weird time to be a Christian, right? Someone has got to help change this reputation. Someone has got to help correct the curve, man, whenever it comes to this. And who's that going to be? It's got to be us. We have to start taking ownership and responsibility over what the reputation of Christianity at large even is by using what God has trusted us with in the spheres of influence that we have to make an impact. To show people that, look, we're not hypocritical, we're not judgmental, we are honest, we're vulnerable, we make mistakes. Sure, I'm not going to pretend like we don't, because we're definitely not perfect. But we're trying. We want to be identified by the characteristics of Christ. Oh, someone write that down. Thank you. So here's where we're going to be going today, because this sounds sort of depressing. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being on a losing team. And when I hear these statistics, I want to encourage you because I'm encouraging myself too. Two things. Number one, I've got to do something about it. And number two, I can't give up. I'm not going to get discouraged. Even Jesus says this, do not grow weary in doing good, right? It can get discouraging sometimes, but that doesn't mean it's not worthy. So we're going to pick up where we left off last week. And last week, we were in John chapter 11, and New Bailey, actually brought the heat last week, talking about how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead and how we can have hope in Jesus and how he demonstrated this through that resurrection, the first of many to come. No matter what our circumstances, we can have hope in Jesus. Now, as awesome as that was, people were not very excited that Jesus was out here raising people from the dead, namely the religious leaders at the time. These religious leaders were called Pharisees, and they were experts in the law. They weren't pumped because Jesus was getting too popular. Jesus was threatening the very systems that they had in place for their society, for religion, and for culture. And so they decided to plot to kill Jesus. They were going to kill him. And they actually plotted to kill Lazarus too. Bailey didn't touch on this last week, but it's an interesting tidbit to know. The reason why they wanted to kill Lazarus, again, like once wasn't enough, but it was because they didn't want people converting to Christianity and believing in Jesus Christ as a result of the testimony of this dead guy who'd been brought back to life. They're like, he can't go around telling people that Jesus is doing all this stuff, so we got to off him too. And so they were trying to take Lazzy and Jesus at the same time. Okay, so that was John 11. In John 12, Jesus, we see him, he's not helping his case, bro. I'm like, they're already trying to kill you, and what are you going to do? You're going to roll up in a donkey, okay? You're going to roll up on a little baby horse. And that sounds really lame, but you have to understand that the Old Testament prophet, Zechariah, actually prophesied that the next king of Israel, the king of all kings, the Messiah, the savior of the world, would roll up on a little donkey. And so everybody knew that, especially the experts in the law, because that's the Old Testament. So whenever Jesus came up on a donkey, these guys were like, oh, okay, you're already raising people from the dead. Now you're coming up in a donkey. Like, they knew what he was doing, and Jesus knew what he was doing too. To me, it's kind of like that, like, that freaking like bad A Jesus who's like kind of flipping the bird, to these guys. It's like, yeah, what's up, bro? Pulling up on a baby donkey. And they're like, oh, okay. It's on now. So they wanted to kill him even more. And Jesus did what everyone would do whenever a whole bunch of people are trying to kill you. He goes and has a little meal with his friends. And so he's hanging out and he's like, boys, let's eat for tomorrow. No, that's not in there. But now we're in John 13. And this is where we're going to be. If you got a Bible or the Bible app, we're going to be in John chapter 13, starting in verse 34. And they're celebrating this meal called Passover to remember this time where this essentially angel of death passed over these people, not killing them because the blood of a lamb was spilled and painted on their doorposts. That's why Jesus is called the Lamb of God, because he was the sacrifice once and for all, so that we can all be with God and Jesus because of the blood that was poured out as a result of him forever. So they're celebrating this. They're having a meal. John 13, 34, he says this, Jesus, I'm giving you a new commandment, talking to the homies. He says, love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other in the same way. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Listen to what he's saying. What is going to prove to the world, non-Christians, the outside-looking world, people who are spiritually curious, people are like, should I go to church? Should I trust Jesus? Is he legit? Is he real? I don't know. I'm going to look at you and determine how I feel about God, Jesus, the whole thing, based off of how you're being. And he said the greatest way to prove that I'm real, that I'm legit, that this is really the real deal thing right here is by how you love one another. So love is super key, right? And you're like, we know this already. Love how Jesus loves us, right? But look at the context of what he's saying and how he's saying it. look at the bigger picture of what's going on at the time when he's saying this. Because he's not necessarily and exclusively talking about dying for you or like laying your life down for there's some other stuff going on. The evening meal, read on, actually a little earlier in the chapter previously. This is the context. So whenever he said this to his disciples, they had this in the back of their mind. The evening meal was in progress. They're having Passover, remember? And the devil had already prompted Judas, you know Judas and what he did? Betrayed Jesus, sold him out. The devil had already done that. And so Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from them. So it's saying that like, here's one of his friends, inner circle. He's decided in his brain after a temptation from the devil that he's going to betray Jesus. Jesus, all-knowing, knows this. And what does he do? He gets up, takes off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. So what I want us to not miss is that the all-knowing Jesus, knowing that one of his friends was about to kill him out, which would lead to his death, grueling, agonizing, horrible, horrible, torturous death, sold him out for 30 pieces of silver, which today, depending on the pieces of silver, would equate to between 90 and 400 bucks. So how much is the life of your friend worth? Apparently for Judas, between 90 and 400 bucks. Have you ever had a friend betray you? Have you ever had someone lie about you? Gossip about you, spread news or false information, or maybe even true information that you trusted them with? My friend, you took screenshots of our conversation and sent them to people? I thought we were friends. You didn't invite me? I thought you didn't even sit by me? There's like these little betrayals that are happening all of the time. And Jesus was no different. He's a human. He experienced betrayal on this planet too. But what was his response? Did he like, revenge, right? I'm going to talk about you now. Hurt you. Like, get back. No, he washed even Judas's feet too. He washed his feet. So that's why whenever he was doing this and he knew what he had done or was about to do, why it hits so much deeper than just serving your friends. He served the enemy, the one who was going to betray him and sell him out and lead to his death. He treated him just the same. He loved him just the same as everybody else. No different. That's crazy. That's insane. You can write this down too. Jesus chose humility over hostility. He could have reacted in such anger. He could have said, everyone except you. He could have done a lot. He could have done anything he wanted to. Instead, he chose humility over hostility, and we can too. This is what Jesus means whenever he commands us to love like him. He means everyone, even the ones who don't deserve it, wash their feet, metaphorically speaking, because that's nasty. Even the ones who don't believe in me, serve them too. Even the ones who reject me, I accept them, regardless of how they feel about me, if they accept me or not. No strings attached, no conditions, no judgments, all love. To love like Jesus is to serve like Jesus. And there are opportunities to do this all around us every single day. Big ones like going to a third world country and helping clothe and feed people who are living in extreme poverty or whatever. But also right here. Also in your home with your siblings, your mom, dad, step-parents, grandparents, guardians, whatever. Like, there are opportunities you could hold a door open for somebody. You could comment nice things about people instead of bad things online. You could include someone because you know how it feels, right? You could sit next to somebody. You could just say, there's so many ways. Think about what it is for you, what you could do. As we finish up, I'm going to leave us with three things that we can kind of maybe apply to our lives to sort of do our part when it comes to shifting this narrative that Christians have in society. And number one is we can choose to serve our friends and our enemies, like I was kind of already saying. Whether you like them or you dislike them, whether you agree with them and their life choices or their political stances or whatever, whether you even know them at all, we can serve people. We can be nice to them. We can pick up some trash. We can hold a door. Like we can say hello or even just give someone a smile. You might not have seen one all day who's used to just getting glares, who's used to getting judged all the time because they look different. But, people come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're all children of God made in his image. Like we all are, right? No one's any better or any worse, just like Judas or John. Like Jesus sees us the same. Did you know that over 80% of people will come back to church simply because someone said hi to them? It goes a long way, small thing. Number two, we can choose humility over hostility, just like Jesus did. This can look like risking your reputation. This can look like sticking up for somebody when everyone in your friend group is making fun of them, because it's easy to just join in, right? It's a lot harder to be like, yeah, like, that's not cool, guys. And they're like, whoa, what? Like, you know how that changes if you've ever tried to do that, you know how it just makes it weird, so you'd rather just not. And you're like, yeah, they suck. And then you don't think it's like a big deal. But it is. Little things are a big deal. A bunch of little things make up big deals. All right? Number three, we can choose to serve even when it's not fun, and I added, or convenient. I think God calls us out of convenience. He calls us out of our convenience, and he grows us on the cusp of our comfort zones. So you're gonna be uncomfortable. It will be inconvenient. But you know what else was inconvenient? Jesus dying on the cross. Okay? You know what else was uncomfortable? Definitely that. And all he asks is for us to just love one another. He's like, you know what? Can you just love one another? Because by that, you will show the onlooking world that what I did was real. I really came back to life. And if you put your faith in me, you'll really be with me for eternity in the new heaven and the new earth. Like, I want that. And we can bring some of that heaven right here on earth as it is in heaven by loving how Jesus loved, which looks like serving people in the smallest of ways.